Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today we are going to see chapter 17. Chapter 17 is about energy resources and electricity generation. Okay. So as you know that the world population is growing every day, there is a demand for fuel. Okay. So the more the people are, the more the demands are. People need more fuel to burn, to keep themselves warm, to cook food, to travel, and so on. So the demand is always increasing. Okay. At the same time, the resources which we have, they are limited. Okay. They are finite. That is, one day or the other, it is going to get over. Okay. So the fossil fuels which we have, for example, coal, petrol, diesel, they are finite. Once we use them, they're going to get over. Okay. So the first thing what we have to consider is it should be about efficiency. That is how to use them in an efficient way. Okay. So that we might not lose them early. Okay. And number two, it's about safety. There are lots of energy resources which are harmful for the environment. Okay, they have a very negative that is, they affect the environment, they cause pollution. So all these things, these two things we have to take into consideration. Okay, so let's move ahead, and first let's know about these two categories, these two very important types of energy resources. So number one, renewable, and number two, it's non-renewable. That is, there are two types of energy resources. Number one, that's renewable, and number two is non-renewable. Okay. So when I'm talking, it is better you take notes, you write it, you take your bullet points, and so on. Okay, that will really help you out. Okay, so there are two types of energy resources, renewable and non-renewable. Okay, so what are these? So renewable resources are those that once they are used, they will not run out. Okay, I repeat, a renewable energy resource is the one that will not run out, that will not get over. For example, wind energy, hydroelectric power, wave energy, tidal energy, solar and geothermal energy. Okay, so look at the picture which is there on your screen. That's the wind farm. These are the windmills which generate electricity with the help of the wind power. When the wind blows, it turns the turbines, turns the blades of the turbine, and thus it produces electricity. Okay, so the wind keeps on blowing, and the frequency of the wind, it keeps on changing according to the climate, according to the season. Same is with the solar energy. In tropical regions, in desert areas, the solar heat, the solar radiation is very higher. It's more over there. So in those areas, solar power can be used to generate other energy such as electricity. Okay. So altogether, all these resources, they never get exhausted. They are always there. It's a part of our earth. It's from the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they never get exhausted. They're always there. Sun, it's always there. The wind, it always blows. Okay. And like that, we also have the waves. Waves are also used. The ocean waves, they are also used to generate power, electricity. and so on. Okay, now what is non-renewable energy? A non-renewable energy resource are those which will run out once they are used up. Effectively, they cannot be replaced once they have been used. Okay, like for example, fossil fuels such as coal, gas, oil, as well as uranium, which is a nuclear source. They are all non-renewable energy sources. They are finite. Okay, they are found on the earth. They're extracted from the ground. For example, oil, the crude oil, we get it from the earth. This crude oil, it is the product of, you know, decomposed microorganisms, plants, trees. Okay, these are the products of these materials, and we don't get it overnight. They have to decompose for millions of years, and finally we get them in the form of crude oil. Okay, so it's a process of millions of years. Okay, so all these kinds of fuels, for example coal, gas, oil, once they are used up, we cannot reproduce them effectively. Okay, they are not like, the renewable resources. For example, wood is a renewable resource. We can use wood to burn and cook food. Okay, when it gets over, we can plant trees and effectively we can replace them, whereas fossil fuels cannot be replaced in the same pattern, in the same way. Okay, so this is an example of how non-renewable resources, they are finite and they cannot be brought back. Okay, so we have very limited resources of coal, uranium, gas, and crude oil. Okay, so we have to consider this in mind, that we have to use all these resources in a very effective, in a very conservative way. Okay, now we must also consider the effect that the use of different energy resources has on our environment, because some types of energy resources can cause long-term damage to our environment. Okay, so it also comes with a price, so we have to be very concerned about the environment as well. Basically, renewable energy sources are environmental. They are environment friendly. That is, they do not cause any long-term damage. They do not spoil the environment. Whereas non-renewable energy resources such as coal, oil, nuclear resource, they all cause an effect. They have an effect on their environment. They cause pollution. They release certain gases, chemicals, which are harmful for living beings as well as for the environment. Okay, see, this is an example of how non-renewable resources, they have an effect, how they affect the environment. Okay, see, burning fossil fuels, it affects the environment because it produces carbon dioxide. The once we burn these fuels, it produces carbon dioxide. Okay, and this carbon dioxide, it releases into the atmosphere and it traps the sun's heat, which in turn increases the earth's atmosphere's temperature, average temperature. Okay, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Okay, so when the earth's temperature, average temperature, when it goes higher, then it will really have an adverse effect. It will allow changes to happen. For example, the world's climate might change, melting of the polar ice caps will happen, and all these things will have a drastic changes in social as well as the lives, the other aspects of the lives of the people. Okay, so considering these things is very very important when it comes to usage of energy resources, especially burning fossil fuels and oil. Okay, so when it comes to fossil fuels, coal is the one which produces lots of carbon dioxide when compared to oil and gas. Okay, people have tried to stop this, right, to prevent this, that is to prevent the release of carbon dioxide, but when they tried it, it costed a lot. Okay, another example of how non-renewable resources they affect the environment is that when the coal and oil, when they are burned, they release sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. This sulfur dioxide, it reacts, it interacts with the environment. It combines with water in the environment, in the atmosphere, and it forms acid rain. See, acid rain causes damage to the people and the plants, and even it damages the building. Okay, since acid rain is very acidic in nature, it can corrode away, layers. Okay, it can damage material, and it can also cause skin cancer in people. Okay, so this is another example of how it affects the environment. When it comes to nuclear fuel, as you know that nuclear fuel, it comes under the category of non-renewable resource. Nuclear fuel is also very limited. Okay, it is not there in abundance. Okay, so it's in very limited supply. Very small amount of uranium is used to produce electricity in nuclear reactors. Uranium fuel, basically it is used to generate electricity. Okay, and the power generated from nuclear processes has an advantage of being clean. That means it doesn't produce either carbon dioxide or sulfur dioxide. Okay, but it has a positive effect with regards to the environment. It doesn't involve the production of greenhouse gases, neither it leads to global warming. But the issue is regarding the disposal of radioactive waste. When nuclear reactions takes place, there are certain residues, there are certain waste which it releases that has to be disposed properly, otherwise it might cause damage to living beings as well as to the environment. And sometimes even accidents, when they happen, they release radioactive materials like uranium and plutonium into the atmosphere. Okay, so these radioactive chemicals, they pose a long lasting risk to the living things, to the people and the surrounding environment. Okay, so this needs to be considered as well. Now, electricity is not an energy resource. We don't get electricity directly from anywhere, but it has to be generated in an artificial way, either through nuclear power plants or coal, thermal reactors, and so on. Okay, as at present, the most of the electricity in the world, it is generated in power stations. Those power stations might be using fuels like nuclear fuel or coal and etc etc. Okay, and this is how it is generated actually. Okay, the stored energy, it's taken, right, it's taken out in the form of the stored energy which resides in the form of fossil fuel, like oil, gas, coal or nuclear fuel. The stored energy is extracted, it is burned, and when it releases the energy, okay, it is that energy, that heat energy is used to heat water. Okay, it is used to heat water. Okay, and when the water becomes steam, okay, and the water becomes steam, a high pressure steam, then this steam is used to drive turbines. Okay, so when the turbine moves, when it rotates, okay, it spins, and then it generates electricity. Okay, so the turbine has magnets inside it. Okay, this magnet, it produces electricity when it moves. So how does this happen? How does, you know this magnet produces electricity when it spins? Inshallah, that we will learn in the coming lesson, in the coming chapters. Okay, that we will learn in magnetism chapter, inshallah. Okay, but now, for now, you have to know this, that when the magnet rotates, it produces electricity. This magnet is fixed in the turbine. Okay, so the other name of this is known as generator. Okay, so the generator, it spins, and then it produces the electrical energy. Okay, so we don't get electricity directly from any resource, either oil, gas, or nuclear source, but we extract that energy, that is, we generate electricity by doing certain process in the nuclear power stations. Okay,